Getting where you need to go shouldn't be a struggle. That's why Hillsborough County offers Sunshine Line, a transportation service for residents who need a little extra help. If you have no mode of transportation, you may qualify for Sunshine Line's door-to-door service based on age, disability, or income. For those who live in the Hart service area, you may be eligible for an income-based bus pass program. Sunshine Line's trained drivers provide safe, shared rides, helping you to and from the vehicle and making sure you're secured every step of the way. Scheduling is simple. Just call 813-272-7272 to see if you qualify and start your application process today. Sunshine Line is here to keep you moving safely, affordably, and with a smile. Visit hcfl.gov/sunshineline to learn more and get started today. Sunshine Line, Hillsborough's ride on the bright side.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2025 Hillsborough County Charter Review Board for today's date of December 9th, 2025. As you know, my name is Julianne Holt, and I am the Vice Chair Our chair, Mr. Wood, is not going to be able to appear either in person or virtually today due to some medical issues that he is addressing. And so then at this time, I am going to call upon our chaplain for a reflection and prayer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's December, and December is unlike any other month that we have during the year. It's a fun month. It's a family month, get together, Christmas, holidays. Some people, it's the hardest time of the year because of losses in the past. But I wanted just to think about one of the symbols that occurs during December, and that has to do with light. You know, we get in the car and we drive around and we look at all the cool lights in people's houses. We hang lights on our Christmas trees. We think about the wise men who marched towards the light to find the child. Jesus said he was the light of the world. God created light on the first day, and then on the fourth day, he made the sun, the moon, and the stars. Light's always really, really important. But one of the things I think most of us forget, and it relates to light as well during this season, is that it's also Hanukkah. And Hanukkah is a Jewish holiday that's celebrated during December, depends on the calendar. This year it's 14th to 22nd, I think, or something like that. And so Hanukkah, for those that don't know, is a holiday that started about 165 BC when the Seleucids took over Israel. They sacrificed a pig on the altar, desecrated the temple, put up Greek gods inside the temple, and demanded that all the Jews worship them. No longer were permitted to read the Torah, and with the goal of destroying the Jewish people. Well, people have done that before, tried that before, and we'll try it again. But they couldn't, and the Maccabees rebelled, led a rebellion. Long story short, they won, kicked everybody out, reconstituted the temple, cleansed it, purified it, dedicated it. And when they went to light the menorah, which is seven branches, they found that they only had oil for one day. It takes a week to prepare the oil for the menorah, and so they decided, well, we'll just use it while we prepare it. And when they lit the first candle, instead of lasting one day, it lasted all 7 days, in fact, 8 days. And it was a miracle, and they took it as a sign from God that he was still working with them. He had a provision and a plan. This is a Hanukkah, so it's not like the menorah. The menorah is 7. This has got 8, and then you'll see a 9th candle spot here. Obviously, these are lights, but in the real one, it's a candle. And so a Jewish person, Jewish family, or in the synagogue would take this, and they would put it up on the windowsill or near the windowsill where you could see it, and then they would have a service or a prayer, special prayer, a lighting time, explaining this to their children. And it all has to do with light. And they remind them that God is sovereign, God's power, and God's in control. What's amazing about this, a couple of other things, is however you see it shaped or whatever, the 8 are always at the same level or always in the same configuration. And the 1 is always apart, usually a little higher, sometimes off to the side. And when you go to light it, it isn't like a cake when you're lighting candles and you just kind of go along with a match. You light this one. And so you would come along, the father would say the prayer, and then on the first day he would light this, and then he would take that one out and then light the next one. And then the second day he would do the same kind of prayer, and then the next, and the next, and the next, until all 8 are lit. And what's interesting about, and they would always talk about the different things that they could remember because of the light and all the different promises that God made. What's interesting from this, from a Christian's point of view, is that this is called a shamash. It's the servant light. And Jesus said of himself, he didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. And the only source for all of these other lights is this one. And the only source for the light that we have is the Lord. He's the one that speaks to our heart. He's the one that draws us close. And even though we see through a mirror darkly, as the scripture says, we don't see it all. We see enough. And he's always drawing us to him, and he's always giving us what we need. And so as we go to pray, we just remember different people in our families. We want to remember art. We remember different needs with it, even within our group. And then also the light that God has given each one of us. Father, we thank you for your power and for your might in the many ways that you're at work in our lives. We especially lift up Art to you right now, whatever medical situation's going on. We pray for wisdom, doctors, nurses, if that's what's happening. We pray for peace and calm in his heart, and that in his heart of hearts, right this very moment, he would know he's being prayed for. Pray that you'll strengthen him, that you'll help him, that you'll watch over him and heal him. whatever is going on. And for each one of us, Lord, I just pray that you'll help us as we keep our eyes on you, and that we would walk in your light, and that this evening would be pleasing to you. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Right. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will do our roll call now that we have everyone in place. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Cardenas, if we could have a roll call, please.
Carlton? Here. Collins? Present. Droege? Here. Hall? Jarosh? Present. Joden? Here. Coons?
Here.
Latham? Here. Shaw? Here. Snively?
Present.
Taylor?
Here.
White? Holt?
Here.
Wood? You have a quorum, ma'am.
Right, and we do have the physical quorum that is necessary, and then we have the two individuals that are virtual that will be entitled to vote today on any matter that may be called upon for a vote. Do we have any public comment? There is no public comment. Let me know if anyone does sign on. Oh, okay, Mr. Schiff, approach, please. Thank you. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Madam Chair. Madam Vice Chair, thank you. My name is Gordon Schiff, and I'm speaking kind of on the same subject I've been speaking recently, but I wanted to make sure, since your agenda has apparently a copy of the local bill filed by in the House of Representatives in Florida, I wanted to speak on that a little. And I just want to point out from my vantage point, I'm a conservative, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I believe in good governance, and that's why I'm here. And more is not better in many cases. There's a substantial and real risk of litigation with this whole proposal which will wind up in redistricting. I think that's something I was trying to say last time. I just want to reiterate that. And that this local bill brings a substantial risk of litigation. I'm not making that up. It's being done in Daytona Beach right now. I do have a message for Tallahassee. Please respect Hillsborough County as a home rule county. Wading into local governance structure in this case is a bad idea. And in fact, that's this CRB's job. The bill is not really well thought out. It tries to reduce my representation. It tries to dilute my vote. It tries to spend all of our taxes on poorly thought out changes to local governance structure. 7 commissioners is enough. 9 is too many. 11 is ridiculous. Please focus in Tallahassee on the real problems facing Floridians, like fixing our state roads, keeping our drinking water safe, improving public safety, improving our schools and universities, and protecting the environment, and being fiscally conservative. The voters didn't elect our Tallahassee representatives to spend their precious time on a local home rule matter. And I just respectfully suggest that citizens, if they're listening, please, if this comes before you, vote no on this poorly conceived Tallahassee idea to mess with our county charter and our structure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a change to our agenda, item number 4, the discussion of reconsideration of the fire chief proposal. An email has been received, and Commissioner Bowles is withdrawing on a permanent basis that particular subject matter for discussion. Okay. And so now we'll go back and review the November 4th, 2025 meeting minutes. If you could review those minutes, and if I could have an appropriate motion.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept the minutes by Ms. Droege. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Coons. Is there any discussion on the motion, or did anyone see anything that needed to be addressed in the minutes? Okay. All right. Motion to accept the minutes of November 4th, 2025. Please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? And the record can reflect that our 2 virtual appointees are thumbs up. Okay, all right, thank All right, we're then going to move to item number 5, and this is going to be a discussion of CRB member term limits and eligibility. Mr. Oji.
So I submitted this change to the charter, section 8.02. You've all had hopefully a chance to read it. It's in your packet. The only change I'm making is in bold and is underlined. And basically, what I'm proposing is that you have members serving on the Charter Review Board for a total of 2 either consecutive or lifetime appointments to the Charter Review Board. And that, as it states, none of those members, of those appointees to the Charter Review Board can be a lobbyist of any kind, local, state, or federal, or registered as such on a local, state, or national registry. So nothing else in that paragraph changes. It's the same paragraph we've all been looking at before. So that's my proposal. I guess I should offer to entertain questions.
Yes, does anyone have questions about the proposal? Yes, Ms. Carlton.
So why? I want to understand the logic of why you'd want to make this change.
Why to what part of the change?
I understand the no lobbyist part. Why 2 consecutive or lifetime? Why limit it? Why limit the number of appointments?
Well, I personally, after reviewing all the documents and going back through the records we were provided, I don't believe that, I'll use framers as a sort of loose term, of the charter plus the original intent to review the charter over 5 years, ever considered it to be a secondary career for some people to continue serving multiple times on the charter review. I just think that if a commissioner cannot find, I mean, we've been inundated with numbers this last 10 months. If a commissioner cannot find 2 citizens within their 300-plus district, 300,000-plus district or more, if you're countywide, to serve on the Charter Review Board every 5 years, 2 people, just ordinary citizens who want to do their civic duty, then perhaps the Charter Review Board itself should be re-examined, the whole structure of that, and perhaps something should change with that. But I just think that it was never designed to be something that people, multiple, like, I mean, we've had some members that are serving 5 years. They've served 5 times on Charter Review. I just don't think that was the original idea. I don't think it's healthy, number one. I think you always need new people and new ideas. And also, you can glean anything you need to know, like we did. They were gracious enough to supply the last 5 Charter Review reports. I read them cover to cover. I don't know what the rest of you did, but I read them cover to cover so that I could understand what had been addressed. I also had the advantage of having my mother serve on a Charter Review Board prior to that, so I had her input. And you can glean anything you need to know from reading those reports for experience point of view. So that's my logic that I used. I just don't think it's a healthy thing. I think, we need to limit it.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Ms. Latham.
I have a question as well. Why are you seeking to exclude lobbyists?
Well, I think personally, I believe it is a conflict of interest for a lobbyist to serve on the Charter Review Board, particularly if anything contained in this charter might be discussed at the state level. I also am surprised at how many people came to me privately and said to me their feelings that they didn't think lobbyists should be serving on the Charter Review. So it wasn't just something that I thought up. I had a lot of people come to me and say they didn't think that was appropriate.
Why?
They felt it was a conflict of interest.
But why? Why is it inappropriate from your perspective? Because somebody mentioned it to you?
No, because, well, I do take feedback from the people that know I'm serving on Charter Review and take the time to contact me and give their thoughts about what they've seen in the meetings. I personally believe it is a conflict of interest. And we've already seen a situation where if we were going to go into next year, this is a 12-month commitment, one of our members they had to be in Tallahassee. And I'm like, okay, you can be in Tallahassee, that's fine. But you still have to, meet your commitment. And, I personally just feel it is not appropriate for a lobbyist to serve on charter review. You can be an ordinary citizen, a taxpayer, I get all that. But you also are working for a lobbyist organization, and there may be things that are discussed or in the charter that you will have some kind of influence on at a state level.
Mayor Helen, I have a question for you. The charter is a public record. The commission is charged with doing their due diligence, or the commissioner, and finding people that they think will represent their community or their constituency at large, correct?
Yep.
I bristle a little bit, and you and I talked about this, at segregating, if you will, carving out one particular profession. And I think it's a very wide swath that is properly left to a commissioner to decide who they want to. A lawyer can be both a lawyer and a lobbyist. There are other groups that, kind of will, myself included, I do a lot of communications and PR, but I also do a fair amount of lobbying as well. And do we not have ways to say, hey, and I can't even think of one, related to the charter where we can say, oh, I have a conflict on this, and we can say, I can't do that. Isn't that the way it's normally held?
Correct.
And my fourth point is, do we usurp the power that the charter gives to the elected commissioners to choose their appointees by segregate, I'm going to say the word segregate, like carving out a small portion of a professional community as well as a citizen-driven community. But go ahead, answer those questions.
Under the ethics code, elections ethics, there would be a conflict if the person casting a vote would benefit financially or lose financially on that vote, so they would not be able to vote. A more broad sense of a conflict can't really be addressed in a vacuum. I mean, you'd have to have actual facts, specific facts, to make the determination as to whether a conflict does or does not
Right.
exist. And of course, it depends on the subject matter being discussed as well.
Correct. I think that it sets an unfair, an unreasonable, an arbitrary and capricious way of carving out a whole sector of people in the community who do participate. I don't think we need to do that part. I'm less ambiguous about the term limits. I don't really care one way or the other on that particularly. I think it does usurp, again, the commissioner's choice. I think that if somebody wants to serve, or they want them to serve for 5 years or 5 times or whatever, that's between him or the person and the commissioner. I think you do have life lessons that you learn, and it's not just for those who have never served before. You learn, I've learned from the time I was 25, getting out of school and coming in. I've learned tons over that time, and I think we bring those kinds of perspectives and thoughts to a board like this. So I don't love term limits, but I really think that the choosing the lobbyists, or if they're registered anywhere on something, I think that's arbitrary and capricious, and I don't think there's a good rationale behind it. That's my comment.
Other comments or other questions? Ms. Snively, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor, if you can unmute yourself, we'll take you next.
Hey, Jim Taylor, lobbyist here. So I'm in Tallahassee doing my job. I'm on screen. Would you consider me participating?
Yes.
Ms. Droege?
I'm sorry, was that a question? Do I consider you participating?
Yes.
Yes, I do. You're there on the screen. You're part of it.
Perfect.
For voting
Just 'cause
purposes.
reference of me stating I had to be in Tallahassee, and that, somehow is a conflict within my profession to serve my community on the Charter Review Board. There are others that have missed this meeting that couldn't come in virtually, could not participate. So I just wanted to go on the record that I'm here in my capacity participating. Now, why is it, I guess, with my profession, born and raised in Hillsborough, this is a way for me to serve? Why am I being limited on how I can give back, provide context, feedback, perspective of my home county and other lobbyists that I know have served on the Charter Review Board?
Are you asking me a question, or are you just making
Yep.
Okay, well, I've already answered the question, so I don't know how much more I can shed light on the verbiage that I've submitted.
Can you elaborate on the conflict of my profession and other registered lobbyists, why that should prevent them from serving their local Charter Review Board?
Well, again, I think between my comments and the ones from Mary Helen, I think, again, we've potentially answered that question. This is just my particular, as I've said, feeling about having lobbyists serve on the Charter Review Board. I don't know how I can make it any clearer to you, Mr. Taylor.
All right, is there anyone else?
Is there
that-
anything else? I mean,
No, I'll take care of, I got this. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about this proposal? Yes, ma'am, Mr.
Did you
Roche.
call Ms. Snively, though, before me?
Ms. Snively, did you want to speak also?
Sure. Thank you. I apologize. My computer is making some funny noises, so you might hear that in the background. Just personally, as far as term limits go, I don't think that it should matter because it's really the commissioner's prerogative to appoint, and we just have to have confidence that our commissioners are choosing the right people for this position. So I'm not really in favor of limiting the term because there are some folks that have some great historical perspective when it comes to the things that have happened. And sometimes they can, we can certainly read the past reports that have been provided to us, but sometimes the reports lack some context, or maybe they have something that's valuable that can be offered to the current board that maybe is somewhat lacking in a report that was given to us. Not that there's anything with the records, but it's just like texting someone versus having a conversation with somebody, right? So anyway, so I don't have any issues with limiting terms, and then I don't have any issues with lobbyists either. But I think lobbyists, I don't think we should pigeonhole a profession. If you really want to go down that's a rabbit hole to go down when it comes to limiting certain professions for this particular appointment. But I think that lobbyists, on a positive note, have a breadth of knowledge and experience in policymaking that can add value to the process, and especially if they are familiar with the area and have a lot of experience with local ordinances, things that are impacting our community. So I would not be in favor of limiting the position of a lobbyist, nor would I be in favor of the term limits. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roche.
Yeah, I appreciate this amendment. I am for term limits normally, but I will say, as far as adding the lobbyist in there, I believe I would be supportive of lobbyists if it was narrowly tailored to be lobbyists that are, that present a conflict of interest. Maybe they're doing business with the county. So I would be open to hearing that. I'm not so sure overall. I'd be supportive of 2 consecutive term limits. I think there are sometimes, it's hard to find people who have the commitment that we have. And so if it were expanded to maybe 3 or 4 terms, I could see that. But, or if it were 2 consecutive terms or 3 lifetime appointments, I think that would be easier for me to support. Would you be open for any amendments?
Well, it does say limited to no more than 2 consecutive terms for the board or 2 lifetime appointments. So I tried to include over a lifetime of gaining experience and service to the community.
Okay. It sounded like, so they can at most serve twice.
That's it, yeah, twice in a lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be consecutive.
Ms. Snively, if you could just take your hand down, please. Just, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well,
Go
just
ahead,
to
Mr. Roche.
follow on, would you need then to have no more than 2 consecutive or 2 lifetime, rather have it just say 2 lifetime appointments, whether they're consecutive or not?
Yeah, I would be amenable to that change. I just tried to cover every possible iteration that I saw in reading the past reports. So that's why I put it that way.
Does anyone else wish to make any comments? Dr. Collins?
Yes. The term limits, I don't agree with the term limits, and I'll tell you why. And that's because the term limits are on the county commissioners. And we would therefore assume that county commissioners will elect whom they feel will best represent and serve them. So if they're gone and another commissioner come in that seat and find that a person did extremely well representing, they may select to use that person again. So for that reason, I'm leery with the term limits unless there was something in here that was trying to suggest that 2 terms, lay off 1, and come back, but to just consistently say no 2 terms. And the reason I say that, we got a couple of people that's on the board, and I've kind of learned from them and listened to some of the things they say, whether I agree with them or not. I've heard them talk about history, and yes, we've had the copies that we can look at. So I'm not for term limits for that reason, because I do feel that we then are de-empowering the commissioners who makes these assignments, and this is their choice to send who they want. As it relates to the lobbyists, I was almost kind of with you there for a bit, because the first thing I thought about is if a lobbyist is trying to get something in the charter for Hillsborough County, and they send a staff member here and get someone to appoint that person, then they can tend to get what they want. But if it's a conflict of interest, like I just found out when I didn't vote on something yesterday, our last meeting rather, and you've got to sign off on it, I think there are guidelines that somewhat protects that as well. So if the lobbyist is a lawyer and we're going to accept the lawyer, but we don't want to accept the lobbyist, I'm not a lobbyist, but I advocate. I don't get paid for it, but I do advocate for education, and I do it at both the post-secondary and et cetera level. And that's just something that I love, and that's why I do it. So in a way, I'm kind of sort of like a lobbyist too. So it's just for those reasons, I just like the idea that we are coming up with some things that we think it would make it better, but that's why I probably cannot accept this particular amendment, because I'm definitely not for term limits. And I understand where you're coming from the lobbyists, but I think there are some things that's put in place already by the county, rules, regulations, et cetera, that perhaps will support us and keep that kind of thing from happening.
All right, we've had 7 individuals comment on this. Ms. Droege, you're welcome to close, and then what would be the will of the board?
Well, I put the proposal forward, and I think that the appropriate thing is to take a vote on it.
All right, so you would be moving this amendment?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would want it to, it's part of the public rec now. It's a proposal to change the charter. I think the appropriate thing, Mary Helen, correct me if I'm wrong, is it appropriate to take it to a vote?
If there's a motion and a second to approve
Yes,
the amendment, yes.
for me to draft. I know you have the words here, but I got to put it in the proper framework and then have the board review that.
Yeah, I was thinking more that the board would decide whether or not they wanted to go forward with this amendment. Would that be appropriate, Mary Helen?
Yes.
Through a motion and a second to have you prepare the, right, correct? Okay,
Yes.
so we have the motion by Ms. Droege. Is there anyone that is going to second the motion at this time? The motion dies for lack of a second. We will now move to a discussion on the Board of County Commission term limits. Mary Helen, if we were to defer this particular matter, since it would have been Mr. Wood that was going to be presenting it, what does that do to our timeline?
Well, technically, the board under the charter has a year to meet, and your first meeting was February 11th. So that's your deadline. If you wanted to do this at the next, when in January is it, Dina? The 13th. If it goes through, then we can call some extra meetings. And remember, if we do have something that we want to take to public hearing, it takes 2. So we'll be pretty busy in a compacted timeline.
In speaking to Mr. Wood, certainly he asked me to continue on with the agenda and to address things, but I want to have some sentiment from you as the board members here today about how you feel about proceeding, especially since as the vice chair, I've been rather vocal about how I feel about term limits. And so I wouldn't want you to feel that in any way this is going to be short-circuited in any fashion today. So I want to give you as board members an opportunity to choose how you would rather proceed. We've already had 2 or 3 people comment about how they feel about term limits. So I am comfortable proceeding forward. I just want to make sure that the rest of you are comfortable. All right. Dr. Collins?
Just for clarity, in last month's meeting, and we actually discussed the term limits, did we take a vote? I'm kind of looking at my minutes, am I off? But did not we take a vote to set aside the, we didn't talk about term limits? This is the one that the chair wanted to talk, I got it, okay, I'm saying, did we not? But I'm with it now, okay. This is term limits for the BOCC.
And just so you understand, right now it's 6:33. The review of the BOCC composition state local bill is what we just wanted to make sure that staff gave us the bill that was filed by Representative Owens. So we have that available to us. It's for us to do what we would like to do with it in the sense of, is there anything that we want to discuss about it? But we didn't indicate that we were going to try and take any positions or anything like that. We just wanted to know if it had been filed, and we wanted to have access to it.
Okay.
I think that was my understanding of what we were doing. We were to receive it, know about it, and then everybody can proceed in their own personal capacity and how they feel. That's what my recall is on that. In terms of the review of the process for the school board item, how long would your comments or presentation be on that?
Oh, it would be very brief. What I did is I pulled the statute, and which I have somewhere in all this, and the statute is in chapter 1000, basically, and it says, it dictates how the school board, how they have to draft the resolution calling for the referendum. The school board has to pay for it. The school board has to come up with the ballot language. But the statute says they send it over to the BOCC, and the BOCC shall put it on the ballot, direct the supervisor. So I don't know why the legislature put the board in there, because they have no ability to say, we don't want to do this, because the statute says you have to. And this board has the authority to put things directly, give it to the supervisor and put it on the ballot. The legislature did not do that. I'm not sure why, and I talked to some of the lawyers in my office that are a lot more versed on this, and they said they scrubbed all the research and they couldn't find out expressed why the the legislature wanted to make the commission a go-between without giving them any discretion in whether or not to approve it. So that's all the comments I was going to make.
Any questions of our attorney? Mr. Roche?
I was just going to ask, were we not going to discuss the term limits?
We are.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to
okay.
just tell us how much time we have and what
Oh,
we
okay,
can do.
gotcha.
Sure.
Okay, no, I'm
I
good.
was trying to get the little things out of the way so that we could, if we want, it sounds like everybody wants to have some discussion on the term limits. I just want to make sure we have enough time to get everything handled so we can judge ourselves accordingly.
That was good, if I might.
Dr. Collins?
Okay. Just to, and thank you, just to make sure that it is clear that if the Hillsborough County School Board sends something over to the Board of County Commissioners that they want to have placed on the ballot, they shall have that placed on the ballot, and it is not an option.
Correct.
But for some reason or another, it has to come
Correct.
to the BOCC.
Correct.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
and thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
Just so that I can be a little bit more clear with everyone, we have received what our outstanding matters are that this board was going to discuss. The last thing for discussion will be the discussion of the Board of County Commission term limits. And after that, there is nothing else that has been identified by this board. And should we resolve this matter tonight, we would be basically, depending on how the vote goes, on what we decide, this could be the last meeting, and our business would be completed, depending on how things go on this. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands where we are from a standpoint of posture. Mr. Taylor, sir.
Hey, yeah, no, I'm just going to reiterate kind of what you were just stating right there, just in terms of where we are in our agenda and kind of as a charter review. Because again, I know for me, the big items have been dealt with, have been handled. And so, our chair isn't there. I want to give him deference. He put this discussion item on here. I'm happy to do that definitely out of respect for him. But for me, the big issues have been handled. And I think it would probably be appropriate that if there are no further items, that this may be our last meeting. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
All right, then. Who would like to start the discussion about term limits for the Board of County Commission? Dr. Collins?
I'm sorry, the only reason I want to do that, are we then to assume that Chair Wood will not be here to participate next month? And the same thing is deference to him, since this is his topic. I don't want us to discuss it, and one, he doesn't hear the discussion, and two, we discuss and make a final conclusion, and he's not been able to have any input. I'm more willing to wait until, really, if that's the end of to adjourn the day, but to come back if we need to next month and give that opportunity to him, and if he's not available at that time, we conclude it. But if this is his subject, then
It was his subject based on our discussion at the last meeting, and that's why it's added on, because there were enough people that had brought it up. In my discussions with him today, he wanted me to know, number one, that Commissioner Bowles was withdrawing his proposal for the fire chief, and that he was fine with us moving forward.
thanks.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Strogey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. Well, we have three, did I count that right? We have three missing members for the Charter Review Board?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have three missing members. Our chairman's not here. As much as I'd like to be finished, I wouldn't support ending this tonight and making this decision with this board that we have, and the two people remote. I'm just going to go on record saying I don't support that.
Ms. Latham?
Do we have two people on, we have Snively and Taylor.
I acknowledge that.
Oh, you did. Oh, these other three are the ones you're talking
So
about.
Mr. White is not here, Ms. Hall is not here, and Mr. Wood is not here. So those are the three people that are not here. There was an expectation that Mr. White was here, and so this is unusual that we have not heard one way or the other. As I indicated at the beginning, I am willing to do what the members of this board would like to do. Yes, ma'am, Mr. Roche.
So remind me what the process is in order to put a resolution forward for consideration. Is it a simple majority of the quorum present?
Ms. Ferris.
It has been the position of the chair that before I draft something, and of course, with some of the proposals, it's going to be very simple to draft, but we need 10 votes. And that's just so that, you know, I'm not just drafting and drafting and drafting when you don't have, since we have to have, you know, a supermajority, if you will, vote and for it, you know, that's a high bar. And so it's just, I think, his thought, and I can't put words in his mouth, is that, so we don't do a whole bunch of drafting and stuff, and then it just doesn't have the support to move forward.
And so, for instance, with 11 people present today, and 2 of us having declared our feelings about term limits, you will not have the 10 votes.
But
In
But
one,
we can-
in one way, in support
Yeah.
of term limits, for instance, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
So-
but we could vote to meet in January to consider a proposal. Or would we just not adjourn sine die and come back and have the chair put that back on the agenda?
So our meeting is now set for January the 13th, so we have
Yeah.
a preset meeting. And what Mary Helen is saying basically is between January, that date, and February 11th, when we would sine die per the end of our appointment, we could have another meeting if need be.
So I thought the process before, though, was if we decided to pursue a topic, it was a simple majority of the quorum. And then we vote, no, it has to be 11? Ugh.
If you go back in your minutes.
Let's amend that charter.
Well, and again, I'm more than happy to have the discussion so that it could shorten what we do in January to some extent. I'm not trying to rush us, I'm not trying to sine die us. What I'm trying to say is, what would we like to do? It's only 6:42, we have an hour and 15 minutes left that we can talk about term limits, and we can get a sense of where we're going. But I am not in a
I have a
position.
suggestion, Chair,
Okay,
Madam
Sure.
Vice Chair.
Just if I might just finish for a moment. But I cannot say that Mr. Wood will be chairing our next meeting. I'm not in a position to tell you that right now. And that's not to infer anything other than what I said earlier. He's addressing some medical issues. But I don't want everyone to say, well, why didn't we do this back in December? Why are we now? I don't want people to feel that in any way, I don't want anyone to feel that they've been boxed and that we're not having the time to do what we want. We have time tonight to have a very robust discussion, and I'm more than willing to do that. I just feel that everybody was caught a little bit off guard tonight, that I'm chairing and not Mr. Wood, and so I just am giving people some options. Ms. Snively, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. My suggestion would be that since we do have some time on the agenda this evening, it's still pretty early, perhaps we entertain a motion regarding the term limits and begin our discussion, if there's a second. And then towards the latter part of the meeting, if we get close to 8 o'clock and we have not made a particular determination at that juncture, then we could entertain a motion to postpone to continue that motion to the next meeting. And that way, because I too would like to stay positive and hopeful that Mr. Wood would be participating in the January meeting. I'm going to stay optimistic about that. And the other two individuals that aren't attending this evening, I'd like to hear their positions as well. But if we should use the time, if we have it on the agenda this evening, to go ahead and begin the discussion. But that would require a motion and a second. Thank you.
Is there anyone that would like to have any further discussion before I ask if anybody would like to, Mr. Coons and then Dr. Collins, and then if either one of you have raised your hand to make a motion, feel free to do that also.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So my understanding, if there were 5 of us even here present in the room or present here that said, no, there's no way we're doing term limits, it's never going to go anywhere anyway. So there might be a time that we can vote tonight to see if we can pass that threshold.
Okay, that's a very good observation and accurate observation. Dr. Collins, ma'am.
Yes, I'm going to take a chance here. I'm going to make a motion that we conclude the meeting tonight and that we bring up the discussion of BOCC term limit at the January meeting, and hopefully we will have as many as board members as possible to be here. So I'm,
Well,
but
look at your wish that's coming true already from Santa
look at,
Claus.
but it's still my motion because I don't want to. I don't think we have enough votes for term limit. I know how I feel about term limits. So I would rather that we bring the term limit discussion up in January, and if it concludes in January, if we have to sign it down in January, so be it. But I just don't think that we should carry it any further.
All right, so we have a motion by Dr. Collins, if I understand this correctly, to table the discussion on the BOCC term limits and to the January meeting, which would conclude today's agenda. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, but there's been a lot of discussion, so hang on.
I've been listening to the meeting on
Okay,
television, so I
perfect.
would like to comment, but
Okay, let
that's
me
why
just
I
see,
don't want
let me
to
see
end it.
first, you're not seconding though, right?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to continue the discussion.
Is there, so Ms. Snively's hand is up. Ms. Snively, what would you like to do?
Sorry, darn it, I keep forgetting to put my hand back.
Okay, thank you. No worries. I just want to make sure, Mr. Coons is over here trying to kick me under the table to keep recognizing you. Okay, Mr. White, sir, then, your comment.
Good evening. I apologize for being late. I actually have a real job. Term limits are important, and so we need to be thinking about what's really going on, right, with the bill in Tallahassee, how that is going to affect term limits. The term limits that are in place now, it's a legitimate discussion. But on top of that, I know you've moved past the discussion of, I really wanted to hear an explanation of the bill that was filed in Tallahassee, not just receive it, but to hear from our county attorney or the legislative representative on the contents of that. Put it on the record, Madam Chair.
That is.
Put it on the record.
It's on the record that we have received it. It's available to all of us. I do not believe that our attorney here today will be commenting on.
I'm asking the attorney to comment on a bill that has been filed by the Hillsborough County Legislative Delegation.
Please don't cut me off when I'm speaking, if you
Well,
don't mind.
I have the
Please.
floor.
I was responding to your question.
Okay.
I was responding to
All
your
right,
comment.
yeah, I just saw you trying to rush things along. I
No.
said, let me drive a little faster.
Mr. White, please be respectful.
I am.
So
No, we don't have a second.
we have a motion that has not been seconded. Mary Helen, if you don't mind just commenting on what Mr. White just asked, that you comment on the bill.
Right, I have not had the opportunity to actually read all of the language of the bill, because this was going to be under the chairs, was going to lead that discussion, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him. So I'm not in a position right now of looking at the bill and analyzing everything about the bill. I just haven't, I mean, it's in the packet, but doing 100 other things, and I just haven't had a chance to read it, and I didn't prepare for that because I didn't think that was going to be called on to explain that. But I haven't really scrubbed the bill yet.
Very good, and so that's fair, and there's no way that we can adjourn Saturday until we hear from our professional staff on the status of that bill. Because on top of that, I did send a public letter to the chairman and say, hey, I would like to go back and consider 6 single-member districts. I would like the citizens of Hillsborough County to have a choice. If the legislators put out a proposal for 9 seats, we have a board member that has called for total 7 single-member districts. And this will be a cost savings to go that route. I think we should give the citizens a choice on what Tallahassee is doing and what the county would like to do. And so if you go back and look at the history of Hillsborough County government, the original charter proposals was for all single-member districts. The black community, that's what we wanted. Bob Gilder and others back in the day, that's what was wanted. You can go back and look at the record. And they moved away from that. Bob Gilder told the folks back in the day, don't vote for it. And I think it was only like 15% of the voters in Hillsborough County that actually voted for the charter in the very beginning, Madam Chair. And so don't dare close this discussion about what's going on in Tallahassee until we have an opportunity to hear from our professional staff. We're asking you to analyze, I am asking you to analyze that bill, and before we run out of time, consider what the commissioners has called for. We've had elected county commissioners come before this charter review board and ask us to consider, Democratic commission asked us to consider all single-member districts. And I think since that passed, since our own legislative delegation pushed that to the full body of Tallahassee to vote on, we should consider that, and don't close until we formally do that. I walked away from it the first time because I didn't think it was going anywhere, but now the delegation has pushed it out and taken it to the full Senate and the House, and I think it's going to pass. The history of those things come back on the ballot. And if it comes back on the ballot for 9 seats, we need to have a comparable proposal of 7 single-member seats. That's where I'm at, Madam Chairman, and I apologize for being late.
Yes, sir. Ms. Snively, comments, please.
I'm going to second her motion.
All right, thank you very much. So
You're welcome, and I will say, I agree with Mr. White about the 7 single-member districts, and I'd like to see that come back onto the agenda to discuss that at the next meeting.
Dr. Collins?
I want to speak for the agenda since there have been some discussion, I mean, for the motion. Since there have been, the reason I said this is because there are some valid things that we want to discuss. And if we take this motion and discuss this tonight, and we conclude inside and Saturday night, we are shutting down everything and not having an opportunity to do anything else. The whole purpose behind the motion was to adjourn tonight, discuss this and whatever we need to do and add to the January agenda and come back then. But that's one reason. So when we get ready to vote, that was the whole purpose. Let's not be conclusive tonight and stop everything and just move it to a January meeting.
And just to make sure that the record is clear, as the chair, I said that we could stay here tonight until 8 o'clock and discuss term limits. I have no problem with that and no objection to that. And any inference other than that is totally inappropriate.
Right.
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Roche. And Mr. Taylor.
The way I understood your motion was we were not going to be able to talk about term limits tonight if this passes. And if so, I'd like to use this discussion to enter in a couple of comments. So I hope that isn't out of order or.
I'll let you,
Yeah.
Please, comments, and then we have Mr.
okay.
Taylor, and we have Ms. Snively again.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think we're in a rush, and we mentioned, I don't want to close it down, and I don't think that was your intent. Yeah, I am definitely a proponent of term limits. We have seen it many times, a loophole in the current county charter, which allows a county commissioner to serve 2 consecutive 4-year terms as a district commissioner, and then file to run as a county-wide commissioner, serve 2 consecutive terms, and then consecutively turn around and come back to run a 4-year district term. Now, there is a term limit statute in our county charter. At the time, no one foresaw that type of a loophole existing in the law. Unfortunately, it does. So I think the demonstrated will of the citizens of Hillsborough County is that a commissioner serve for 8 years, sit out. It could even be 2 years, just depending on which one they at least sit out, for a short period of time before they run back in. Now, as far as the bill that is in Tallahassee, unlike last year, there's no guarantee that it's going to pass, and there's no guarantee that it's going to be on the ballot. We've already kind of exhausted putting it on ourselves unless, I know Commissioner or Member White mentioned that he'd like to revisit that, and so did Commissioner or Member Snively. But again, I'm not sure that that there will be something on the ballot to amend either through the state process or through our process here on the charter. So I think it's very important that we consider putting a term limit proposal on the November ballot to make it a sure thing. And the fix I would propose, and I have obviously not talked to the chair, but it really is it could be as simple as just striking a few phrases out of the existing term limit section. So if you were to go to section 404 in the county charter, it's the second page of the charter. That is where it talks about the term limits. And as you all are flipping there.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Don't we have a motion and a second on the floor, and now you're arguing about what the motion and the
Well,
second is on?
this is part of the discussion, because if we vote on
Wouldn't
this.
that come
Yeah.
after?
And you can discuss.
Well, this is the discussion, whether we want to vote on the bill. That's why I preceded this and saying, I'm going to do this, and nobody objected at the time.
Okay, well, I'm objecting now. I think we need to dispose of that message.
motion to end tonight?
Yeah, it was to end tonight.
That's what your motion was.
The motion was
To do it later.
to actually put the discussion on for the January meeting, but you cannot stop a discussion on a motion once you have a motion and a second. Unless somebody
Yeah,
calls.
so I'm almost done.
Unless somebody calls.
But the motion is different
Yeah.
than what she's discussing.
So anyhow,
If I'm wrong.
if we were to meet in January, I'll rephrase, it could be a simple fix that deletes certain phrases. So where it says no member who has or but for resignation could have served as a commission member, and then that would stay the same, but then I would strike through from districts 1 through 4. So it would read, but for resignation would have served as a commission member for more than 6 years and 2 consecutive terms, shall be elected as commission member, and then everything after that would be struck through until the last 4 words for the next succeeding term. So striking out that language all the way to the last 4 words would fix the problem.
Right, we have a comment, but here's how we're going to go. I have a comment by our attorney, I then have Mr. Taylor, I then have Ms. Carlton. And we're going to try and stay on task on the pending motion. I've offered the opportunity to continue term limits talks, but it seems like people want to take a vote on the motion and defer this matter. And so that's what the chair is going to rule that we're going to do. So the comments are our attorney, Ms. Carlton, Mr. Taylor, and then we're going to take a vote.
Okay, I will be very brief. To kind of simplify, if you could, what the words of the charter says, they treat district commissioners and countywide separate. So you only you have, if you will, it's like a mini term limit for countywide and a mini term limit for your district, single member district. So that's why you can go back and forth. It's not a hard fix, but that's just, I was just trying to clarify how the charter treats it.
No problem. Ms. Carlton?
I'm not trying to get into a discussion, but if we're putting forth a little bit here, if we're counting heads, frankly, and all that kind of thing, just very briefly, I know we're talking about when we're going to talk about it, if we're going to talk about it. I just want to say, I trust voters. I believe that voters can say, this person has been around a long time, and I kind of like their experience and what they've done, and I'd like to reelect them again. So, I trust the voters on this thing. They can elect who they want to elect. We're not forced, they're not having people forced down their throat. I get the spirit of fresh blood. I totally understand that. But it's one of those solutions in search of a problem, I think. I think it works okay the way it is. So I just wanted to say that for the record while we talk about when we're going to talk about it.
And Mr. Taylor from
Thank
Tallahassee.
you. From Tallahassee, that's right. We're here, and again, as mentioned, I want to give deference to our chair to discuss this. What I'm a little fearful of is if we postpone this to the next meeting, more items are going to continue to kind of fall on our agenda. And again, this whole posture that we've been in over the past several months has kind of been ramping up to the votes that we had at our last meeting regarding the makeup of our board. And we voted on that. We did that. So I echo Ms. Carlton, her words when it comes to the term limits and where I'm going to fall on it. And, you know, we're here now. We got another hour that we're blocked out for to have this discussion. I don't necessarily want to remand this to the next meeting because, again, it's kind of becoming a domino effect of more items being put on the agenda. And for me, I think we've exhausted a lot of potential amendments to our charter. So those are my comments.
Okay, Dr. Collins, you wish to move forward with your motion?
Call for the motion.
Okay, there's been a call for the vote. Roll call.
I'm still, sorry. Madam Chair, I'm still a little bit confused what we're voting on. We're voting to stop the discussion
Yes,
tonight and end
yes,
the meeting?
Yes, yes.
So a yes vote for her amendment would say, yes, let's end the meeting right now tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
No, not in the meeting.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly what
That's
she's
exactly-
saying.
No, stop talking. Let
Okay,
her go.
and listen.
That's why I'm asking what we're voting.
The motion has been made, it's been properly seconded, there's been a discussion. I understand exactly where most people are going to land just from looking around the room, but that's the motion. It's properly on the floor. Roll call vote.
Wait a minute, Madam Chair, I don't understand the motion. You asked me to vote on something I don't understand.
Restate the motion, please.
Yes, the motion by Dr. Collins is to adjourn this meeting at approximately 7:04 when the vote will be taken, and to defer item 7 to the January meeting.
Is it 7 or
And it's been
6?
seconded.
I can support ending the discussion, but not adjourn the meeting, because I had some other
Not
things to
7, but
say.
it's 6. Yeah.
It's
6, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're right,
6.
6, I'm sorry. 6.
And
Do you
I-
need me, you got that?
And,
So it's-
and I spoke on the motion because I didn't want to see us take a vote tonight, stop it, and sign out. If we bring it back on next month, we get to discuss whatever we're going to discuss. You'll know what's going on in
Well, I had
Tallahassee
some
by that
closing
time.
comments. I hate ending a meeting on an agenda item without allowing board members to have a
You just
closing
had,
comment.
that's why we just did discussion just now. Now, wait a minute, when I say close the meeting, the chair is going to then say, I guess we're going to adjourn if there's nothing else. Mine is going strictly by what was on the agenda.
She's saying I just vote. She's walking out the door. That's what I heard.
All right, the
Is
motion,
that what I heard,
the
Madam?
motion,
That's not
the
true,
motion.
right? Talk to me, Madam Chair.
The motion
Why are
is,
you pushing this meeting through?
the motion is the
Madam Vice
motion
Chair.
made by Dr. Collins. With all due respect, Mr. White, please stop interfering.
I'm not
in-
interfering.
in
I'm
a-
a duly
in a-
seated
in a-
meeting, and you
I
are
have,
not
as the
allowing
chair-
us to.
As the chair.
I'm asking, are you going to
It's-
close the meeting down after this vote? Are you going to allow us to have closing comments?
If you want to make some more comments, Mr. White, you can.
There you, that's
But
what I'm
the,
asking.
but the
That's
motion
it.
is properly made and seconded, and please.
I'm with you.
Please, I know you know better than what you're doing tonight. A motion to adjourn this meeting by Dr. Collins has been made.
Madam Vice Chair, that was not the motion. I did not second that motion, and the motion was to postpone this topic to the next meeting.
I'm getting
ma'am.
to the second part, Ms. Snively, which it was a two parts. It was to adjourn the meeting with the agreement that item number 6, discussion of Board of County Commission term limits, will be deferred to the January meeting for full discussion by the board. That motion was seconded by you, unless you'd like to withdraw it at this time.
I'll withdraw unless it will be amended. I don't wish to vote to adjourn the meeting at this juncture. My only motion or second was to postpone this agenda item to the next meeting.
I will take the friendly amendment to not adjourn immediately after this, but keep everything else the way it was.
But there's nothing more to discuss. after this.
As a board, you can
I'm going to
always
find
vote
that the
up or
motion
down.
at this time is not well taken. The second has been withdrawn. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to proceed with item number 6 at this time unless I have a motion that addresses that. That is the one item that is left for discussion here today. So we are on item number 6, discussion of Board of County Commission term limits. Who would like to start the discussion? Ms. Latham.
I just want to make one comment. I don't support the term limits. I think we have a full-on electorate that can decide who they want to vote in and out. I do not consider it a loophole. I think it was written the way it was supposed to be written. So that's the last I'm going to say tonight. We're not going to vote tonight, are we? That was a joke. It was a total joke.
Listen, I'm
I'd
not.
like to make a motion.
I've got Ms. Snively. Excuse me for one moment. Mr. Taylor, do you also have your hand up? No. Okay, Ms. Snively, ma'am?
I would like to make a motion to postpone item 6 to the January meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Snively to postpone item number 6 to the January meeting. It is properly seconded by Dr. Collins. Is there any discussion on this particular motion? Roll call on the motion, please.
Carlton,
No.
Collins,
Yes.
Droege,
Yes.
Jerosh,
Yes.
Joden. Yes. Coons,
No.
Latham,
No.
Shaw,
Yes.
Snively,
Yes,
Taylor,
No.
White,
No.
Holt.
No?
Motion failed 6 to 6. Members Carlton, Coons, Latham, Taylor, White, and Holt voted no.
All right, then.
Did you say it failed 6 to 6?
Yeah, it's a tie.
A tie.
All right,
But that's
now.
what you said it was, 6 to 6.
All right, now, that lends itself obviously to, it is 7:07, and we will have a discussion on item number 6. And in an abundance of fairness, we'll start with Ms. Carlton. Do you wish to make any other comments other than those that?
Thank you for
those
catching me
that-
with a Hershey's kiss in my mouth.
Those that you have made.
No, I'll just reiterate, it's pretty straightforward. I think it's up to the electorate, and I think experience sometimes is a good thing, and voters should be able to decide, so I'd be against it.
Dr. Collins, any comments you'd like to make about your feelings about term limits other than the ones that you've already made, ma'am?
No.
Ms. Droege, any comments that you'd like to make?
I think it should be up to the voters. They should send back whoever they want, whenever they want, however many times they want.
Mr. Dean, any comments you'd like to make tonight? Would you like to make any comments tonight about term limits?
Sorry, it's Joe again.
I'm sorry. You know what, I'm like,
I know. No, not at this time.
okay. Mr. Roche?
I think I've already made my position clear. Thank you, though.
Okay, and I'm assuming that if this matter was to be in some way not concluded tonight, that you would be suggesting the language that you suggested?
Yeah, I mean, I am hopeful. Well, I would like to hear what Chair Wood had in mind, but in case he did not have anything, I would like to supply some language in the future.
Mr. Coons?
Yes, and I would like to hear more of Karen's suggestion and the direction that she's going.
Okay. Ms. Latham?
Nope.
Nope, no more comments, or just what you've already said, correct?
All right,
All right.
correct.
Mr. Shaw?
Truthfully, I think we should end this matter tonight. Let's vote it, because the feeling I have in the room and on the two members present there is we're not going to get a super majority. So I think we should kill it tonight and save everybody's time coming back on January.
Mr. White? Comments for term limits, sir? On item number 6.
Term limits are good. And so, Mary Helen, what I would like to understand, you pointed out not just for me, but for the public that's listening, what's the difference between the term limits, again, for the district commissioners and the county-wide commissioners, and what happens during an election, after election, when they have some serve 13 years, 14, I mean, away from the existing 4, 4, and 4? Some serve 4, some serve 2.
Correct.
What's
And
going on with that?
Here's why. Because the redistricting does not matter to the countywides. Their district is countywide. Doesn't matter how you draw the other lines. The single-member districts, there's 4. But remember, every 10 years, we do a census, and the lines change. So then we have to stagger that again because there's different lines. You might have to run in a different district. So that is why the single-member districts have basically 10, depending on when they get elected, if they want to stay the whole time. Because you get your 2, and it depends on timing, and it's a little bit more complicated. But basically, they're treated differently because the district commissioners, we have redistricting, and we change lines.
All right. So we've had elected officials finish an 8-year term or whatever the number of years they were allocated under their elected cycle. And because of, you're saying because of the redistricting, they can serve in that same seat again, or they can move to a different seat?
No, they have, you can't serve more than 10 years in a district seat, more than 8 years in a countywide seat. And the reason that is there is because of the decennial census, and you change the district lines.
Okay. So we have term limits,
Yes, we do.
but they're, how do you explain it, Madam Chair? They're
I don't.
different. They're different based on the census and the redrawing,
Well,
district
there's a
versus
reason
countywide.
that that they treat them that way.
So Commissioner Hagan, we're going to put his, he's the longest-serving commissioner. He's had a district seat and he's had a countywide seat. And the reason he's been able to stay on the board because he's gone from a district seat to a countywide seat
Yeah,
at the
so
will
did-
of the voters.
So did Jim Norman, so did Jan Platt. I mean, it's happened. Now, you have to understand, if you have to go to a district seat and the commissioner in that seat is not up for election, you can't run for that seat. So there's outside constraints on, it's not you just jump back and forth. It's easier to go to countywide because you don't have a residency. You don't have to live in the district. But if you're a single-member district and you're termed out, you'd have to either move or see if that person that you want to, run for another district seat.
Okay.
So there's other limitations that aren't written in the charter.
All right. Okay. I feel more educated about it a little bit. I've been around it a while. Like I said earlier, if this proposal for 9 seats passed, then you'll have term limits, right?
I believe that's in the bill, but again, I have not really scrubbed it.
Okay, and if we decide to readdress it and go to 7 single-member districts, that will address term limits as well. If we decide to put something on the ballot related to that. So I'm standing down for now and just to see what's up between Christmas and the New Year.
Right. Ms. Snively, do you have any other additional comments as it relates to term limits, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Since you're kind of going around the table, I thought I'd go ahead and put my 2 cents in, if you don't mind. Regarding term limits, I'm also not in favor of term limits. I do like protecting the voters' choice, and they should decide who serves. Just as personal experience serving as an elected official on the school board, it took me about 4 years to really kind of get my footing and understand, because the size of the district that we have, the size of the county is enormous, and it takes time. And so continuing to allow elections sometimes preserves experience, and governance improves with that knowledge that you gain over time and continuity. Also, I think that the ballot in itself is technically the term limit, if you will. That is the opportunity for voters to make that decision as to whether or not they want that person to continue serving in that capacity. So I could go on. There's several reasons that I'm not in favor of necessarily having term limits, but I thought I'd just put my 2 cents in since we were kind of going around the room and offering up our opinions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, sir, any other comments you'd like to make other than the ones you've made?
No, ma'am. Everyone that has been down on this site, echo what's been said, so no need to double down on it.
So in the straw ballot that was just discussed, it would not appear that there is going to be the support for term limits. There is absolutely no need today to say that we're going to sine die because every single one of us, no one person more than any other wants Mr. Wood here for our meeting. All of us feel that way. And however, there is, on the straw ballot, we can see that this is not something that is going to move forward. And so I feel that it would be appropriate to take a motion and a second. We are not going to cancel the January meeting. We are going to, if somebody feels strongly that you want to defer the vote on the motion, but I think it's appropriate to get a motion on the record so that people understand where this is headed. And if you want to defer the vote, I don't believe that there's anything in the rules that don't allow us to do that. We're talking about perhaps a motion and a second, but defer the actual vote to the January meeting. And then the second thing would be, I am not aware of any email from Mr. White and/or any oral or written request by Ms. Snively.
I put it in the record. I put the, I sent the email in the record.
Mr. White, would you just please allow me to finish the conversation?
You didn't pass the email I sent into the public record?
Mr. White, if you would, please.
I'm just telling you, it's in the public record.
And so what we have today, I am not aware of any email that has been sent.
Can you get that before the adjourn?
However, I am confident that our staff will get with Mr. Wood, who has done a very good job of trying to stay in contact with them. We now have a verbal request also from Ms. Snively, and so there isn't any doubt that if there's a January meeting, that matter will be up again for reconsideration. And so for the agenda, it would appear to me that we would have a reconsideration of the single-member districts that we previously discussed and that was voted on and did not result in us wanting a charter amendment. So that would be the two things. We would have the vote, if everybody agrees today, on the motion that we would make today, so that Mr. Wood would understand where we've gone and we'll be communicating with him. And so there will not be a sine die. Does anyone object to those?
I do, and I need to explain why, Madam Chair.
Does anyone object to those two matters, or if you only object to one or the other? So let's take them separately. Is someone objecting to us taking a motion and a second tonight on term limits and then deferring the vote? Is there an objection to that?
Yes, I need to, based on my, I know.
And Mr. White, I'll call on you now, sir, to make your comments.
A great discussion tonight. There's a lot of administrative things that need to be done, right? I've received one email. We got to vote out an executive report. We just got to do quite a few things. We need to allow the staff to do their professional work and allow the board and the chair to conclude our process in a formal way. And so don't close it out until we make sure all the Ts are crossed and the dots, and, it'll be a first if you did that.
Mr. White, we're not closing out the meeting.
What I'm saying is it may be a need for a vote of this board, and if you don't allow the board to meet in a formal way, something may fall through the cracks.
We have a meeting set already. It's preset. We've discussed that. I'm asking if there's any objection to the motion and the second being made tonight and deferring the vote. If there is an objection, we would then move to, do we have a motion and a second, and take a vote tonight? And then our January agenda would be limited to the request for reconsideration and any other matter that might come up with the chair.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Helen, we can vote tonight, can we not?
Yes.
I don't see any reason not to. We just need to move on. We just did essentially a straw.
Okay.
Right.
full. So
Yes.
Gerald, we can vote tonight, and if there's some issue, we can do the reconsideration.
All right, is there anyone that wants to make the motion on item number 6
I'll
at this
make it.
time?
I'll motion to abandon term limits.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. Latham to abandon item 6, which is the Board of County Commission term limits and allow the status quo. There is a second by Mr. White. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Carlton,
Yes.
Collins,
Will you please come back to me?
Droege,
Yes.
Jarosh,
No.
Joden,
No.
Coons,
No.
Latham,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Snively. Member Snively?
Sorry, could you restate the motion, please?
The motion is to abandon Board of County Commission term limits,
Changes.
and that the charter would remain at a status quo as it relates to that subject matter.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yes, my vote is yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Don't get the council. You can come back then. I'm sorry. You can come back to Collins. I needed to hear that again, but I didn't want to ask for it. Yes.
motion failed 9-3. Members Jarosh, Joden, and Coons voted no.
The motion to abandon passes, you mean?
Motion to abandon passes.
Passes. I'm sorry. The motion to abandon passes.
There is only nine votes for yes, so you need 10 votes for the quorum.
No, 10 is for her to draft something.
We
Correct.
don't
For
need to-
for an actual,
It's
just for
dead.
business like this, just a simple majority works.
Okay. Motion carried 9-3. Members Jarosh, Joden, and Coons voted no.
You're doing a great
So,
job, Madam Chair.
my understanding of the request by Mr. White tonight is for 2 particular agenda items for the January meeting. One of them is that he would like for our attorney to have a discussion with us about the actual BOCC composition state-local bill. The second would be, somebody please locate his email that he sent to Mr. Wood, and also attach to the reconsideration, Ms. Snively, please. And that would be the 2 items that I'm aware of. The third item will be a roll call for individuals who have not yet sent their headshots, their bio, their quote, personal comment quote. We'll have a roll call on that because, as Mr. White indicated, our staff is working on the final product and will need our assistance. And the only thing I've done right apparently today is get all those things to her. So, but if y'all could, I know it's a tough time right now with everything going on, but she does need all that from us. Is there anyone that would like to make other comments about other matters that are on their mind? Shaw.
I just want to take an opportunity to wish our chairman, Art Wood, best of the health and speedy recovery.
Thank you very much. Dr. Collins?
Please forgive me, but will you please repeat the agenda items?
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
going to do the local
Yes.
bill.
Mary Helen Ferris will be giving us, basically a summary of the bill that has been filed as it relates to the Board of County Commission composition. It was a local bill that the delegation did pass. And the second theme would be that Mr. White and Ms. Snively have asked for a reconsideration of our last month's discussion involving single-member districts, which would differ than that bill pending in Tallahassee, and would give the voters a second option. So those would be the 2. And then I am serious about the number 3 being that we do have to help clean up little outstanding things, which would include we would discuss, hey, please send this or this to our staff. So we do need the bio, we need the personal statement, and we need the headshots.
One other thing, we just took a vote, it was 9-3 to abandon the term limit, and there was a discussion earlier, and I'm just baffled on where we are right now. Are we going to discuss that on the agenda, or it is done?
It is done, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So of all the items that have been identified as pending for the day, we have handled everything. We are now asking for a reconsideration of one of those items, as well as the discussion on the local bill up in Tallahassee. So those were the two things that we would put to the agenda, unless someone wishes to say something else today that we should discuss. Mr. Droege.
Madam Chair, are we, this might be directed at Mary Helen. Are we allowed to vote on whether we want something that we have already discussed ad nauseum and resolved to be reconsidered again are we allowed, can we make a motion that, explain to me how that could be handled?
Yeah, it's possible, and it's not a reconsideration. Reconsideration is you want to change a vote at the same meeting. If the meeting is passed, it's called a renewal. And anybody can renew an issue if they want, and if they get enough votes to renew the issue, it moves forward.
Are you suggesting that I should, before I adjourn tonight's meeting in about 34 minutes, that we have some vote on the request that Ms. Snively and Mr. White have made? Is that the proper process that I should be following?
I think when we started this at the beginning, everybody just said, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that, and we just did a list. So if you want to be consistent, we can just say, we've said these are the two things we want to do, and I think that's good enough.
Yeah, but what if there are people on the board that don't want to do that? What if there is a majority of the people on the board that don't want to do that? So why shouldn't we have a voice, and why shouldn't we be able to put that forward, that we do not want to clutter the January agenda with that?
Well, then I guess you could make a motion that we do not put the 7 single member, do it that way. You do not want to put that, you don't want to reconsider that, and make that a motion and see where that goes.
Well, I would like to make that motion, that we do not reconsider the 7 single member district, because we have already debated and closed this subject out ad nauseum, and I'm making that motion.
I'll second that, okay.
Okay, so Ms. Snively, Mr. Taylor, are you in a position there to have heard what just was happening, or do you need a repeat?
I'm sorry, Madam Vice Chair, who was the second to the motion?
Right, so the motion made by Ms. Droege, seconded by Ms. Carlton, is that there not be a reconsideration of the 7 single-member district in the January meeting. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, Madam Chair, the only thing I would just say, that the board only meets, this group only meets once every 5 years, just 14 regular citizens, all right? A group like this won't come together again for 5 years. All right, I'm 63, probably won't be around. I'll definitely be retired. 42 years with TICO, X number charter review boards, I'm 63, I'll be retired soon. But what I'm trying to tell you is that don't waste this opportunity to have a final discussion on a very important issue that affect millions, over 1 million citizens of Hillsborough County. And the reason you need to just hold it until the end is that your legislative delegation has taken a formal action. They have voted on something. It's going before the House. It's going before the Senate. And if it passes, it's going to the governor's desk. Hold something to the end, because this is it. This is the 14 citizens that have an opportunity to debate something and talk about something and include the discussion of the change that just took place. All right? Your previous votes, that action hadn't taken place, but now it has. And so I'm asking the board, don't close it out yet. I'm not saying you're for it or against it. Just don't close it out, bring it back, get that formal discussion, for not just for us, the 14 members, but for the public can hear what the legislative delegation has done.
Okay, may I comment? So, Mr. White, my understanding was speaking with Representative Owen, who is my representative, and I asked him this question outright. I have it in writing, his answer. My understanding is that the proposal that he's put forth, that has been approved and is sending on its way by the Hillsborough County delegation, it will be going to the ballot. It will be voted on by the voters of Hillsborough County. They will have a say on whether or not they have 9 single-member districts. There's no way this is going to, at least that's my understanding, Mary Helen, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is going to be passed in the House and passed in the Senate and go to the governor's desk for signing, other than it's going to go on the ballot so that the voters can decide. But we have already spent a great deal of time discussing districts, getting input. We voted and cleared this all out last month. I don't think we should concern ourselves with this proposal, which is going to go to the ballot. My best guess, if I was reading the tea leaves, it's not going to pass anyway, because because I do believe that there are enough voters out there who believe that they have the right to determine how many people sit on the Board of County Commissioners, and they are not going to be satisfied with voting for just one commissioner. So, because we've heard lots of feedback on that. But I do not want to revisit this again and spend more time on this, and so I would like to take a vote on my motion.
All right, thank you for the comments, and I have Mr. Taylor, and then we'll take a vote at that point. Mr. Taylor, the floor is yours, sir. I'm sorry, Ms. Snively also has her hand up.
And I would like to.
And Mr. Roche.
Yeah, I think, I certainly understand why Ms. Snively wants to bring this item back. Since our meeting at our November meeting, they finally passed the bill out of the delegation, and they kind of stripped the local bill down to just dealing with the Board of County Commissioners and 9 single members. And so for me, I've been a big advocate for wanting 2 additional commissioners. And so I do feel as it goes through I think it will go through the legislative process. It still has to go through the House and approved in the Senate. And then, yes, it'll go on the ballot. And so 9 single is what our delegation has put forward. And that's kind of where I was, what I wanted. So I don't see the need to rehash 7, because my big thing has been 9. And since they pared down that local bill after we met in our November meeting, for me, the issue's been dealt with. Yes, we voted on it, but then our delegation voted on it and passed out, personally what I wanted to see be put on the ballot. And we'll see how the voters, how they vote.
Ms. Snively, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So I can see both sides. I will say that I don't think we discussed it ad nauseum, because there was only about 6 lines in the minutes that are dedicated to 7-member districts, and actually only 1 motion and the other 2 amendments that went from 4-3 to 5-2. So I wouldn't say we discussed it ad nauseum, but I hope that that's the case. If you're reading the tea leaves, Ms. Stroji, that's the case, that it happens. Unfortunately, timing of our duties on this county charter will be over before the finalization of this particular bill goes through the House and the Senate. So there's always the potential that it doesn't pass, and then we're left kind of where we were before. So I see both sides. I think it's got merit to just, maybe keep it on the agenda. If we don't end up discussing it at the next meeting, if things change, then we can certainly remove it from the agenda. But we didn't really discuss it ad nauseum, so I do disagree with that statement. And we don't know what's going to happen. We know it has a crystal ball to know what's going to happen with the vote from the delegation. So my vote would be, or my opinion would be, it can't hurt to put it on the next agenda. There's a lot that's going to happen between now and January, and if we decide that we don't want it on the agenda in January, then we take it off. Either we vote to remove from the agenda, or we, or the chair can take it off of the agenda at his leisure. So, but that's just my opinion.
Ms. Jarosh?
Yeah, I'm actually going to support the motion, even though I did vote for the 9 single-member district. When that failed, I voted for and supported the 7 single-member district, and it failed. And I'm not sure that it has a chance of survival, so I'm not sure revisiting is in the best interest of the proposal that I support because of a second reason. I believe if we did pass it and we had 2 competing items on the ballot in November, none of them will fail, and I'm very supportive of the 9 single-member district as it is written in the legislature. So I will support her motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to not reconsider the single-member district vote from last month. It's properly seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Carlton?
Yes.
Collins?
No.
Jirogi?
Wait, if I'm voting yes, I'm voting I don't want it to go forward, right?
Correct.
Okay, good, yes.
Jarosh?
Yes.
Joden? Coons?
Yes.
Latham?
Yes. Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Snively?
No.
Taylor?
Yes.
White?
No.
Holt?
Yes.
Motion carried 9-3. Members Collins, Snively, and White voted no.
Mr. Taylor, sir.
I do have a quick question. We all love art. I love art. I feel bad. He is in the, he's not here. He has helmed our board, and I have so much respect and love for him. And again, I hate that he's not here. I want to be realistic with expectations as well. I am curious, based on all the voting that we did today, and where does that leave us with the agenda for January? Because honestly, I don't know what we need in terms of feedback on the local bill, other than Mary Helen giving us a verbal or written analysis of what the local bill does. And so I'm struggling to really see what we have left to accomplish at our January meeting. So a statement, but I don't necessarily want to offer up a sine die because of art. I want him to be with us for our final meeting out of respect and admiration for him and all the work he's put in to helming this board. But I do want to put that out there, at least so people know kind of where I'm at, and I would be curious where others may be as well.
Mary Helen and then Ms. Latham.
Well, I was just going to suggest, if it's the board's pleasure, I'd be happy to do a memorandum and send it to everybody that has an analysis of the bill. I just wanted that as an option.
For the good of the order, or some miscellaneous discussion, because what we're doing now is just what I didn't want to see happen. That's what made the motion.
I'll repeat myself. I have no intentions of calling for a sine die today.
Can someone else?
So, yes, I just want it to be clear, though, that that's not why we've ended up where we've ended up. There, again, I'm going to reiterate that there isn't one person in this room that doesn't wish, and me more importantly than anyone, that Mr. Wood was sitting here and had actually directed this entire meeting. I feel strongly about that. And Ms. Snively, I see your hand up. I'll be with you in a minute. So that is in no way, and I'm going to be honest, I'm one of those people that even if I am in Tallahassee, I'm going to come back home for this January meeting because I also want to be in the room at sine die with Mr. Wood. So on the other hand, I think what people are saying is, what will we be discussing of substantive nature at that meeting so that they can properly adjust themselves and they, People, it's not, none of us feels like we're wasting time when we come here. What we want to know is what will we want to do and discuss in a substantive nature at that time. I think it's been clear tonight that people do not want to reconsider things that they feel that we talked about for a significant period of time. I think Mary Helen doing a written memorandum for us on the bill is a tremendous idea, frankly, because we can use it for other things, obviously, other than this meeting. So I am comfortable with that unless someone objects to the written memorandum. If she prepares a written memorandum, that doesn't mean that you can't ask questions at the January 13th meeting. It just means that you have something to actually read, think about, reflect, and then you can have what I call cogent questions about the bill, because it's not that easy of a read,
Madam Chair, I'd like to
frankly.
make that a motion, that we do that.
Okay, Ms. Latham first, please, and then Mr. White.
Right.
I'm sorry, Ms. Latham, then Ms. Snively, and then Mr. White.
Okay, I want to make the motion to sine die. I think it's a good idea, too, to send that memo around, and I would appreciate that. However, we can all call Mary Helen and ask her any questions that we have, and I don't think we need to belabor this and give ourselves busy work that we don't need. So that would be my motion.
And I was still speaking, if I might. If I might, just, and I heard you, Ms. Latham, but I'm not seconding your motion.
I'm sorry, you didn't say you're seconding the motion,
I said
did you?
I'm not seconding
Okay.
the motion, but I was still talking, and I just wanted
Okay.
to finish. And I'm still saying, at the January the 13th meeting, so that we do not have an agenda that will lock us off, that made us think that had we removed this item from the motion, that was it, because the next item was adjourned. I'm accustomed to seeing sometime at the end of the agenda before adjournment for the good of order to something, and I'm asking that that be placed on the January the 13th meeting.
Don't we have to deal with her motion first?
No, because it's not been second, so we're still discussing
Nobody
it.
got a chance to second.
Because I was still
Okay, so
speaking first.
I had interrupted, and so I
Yeah.
apologize for that. I do take it that we do have a motion that has been made. I still am going to have Ms. Snively and Mr. White comment if someone seconds the motion. So we have a motion.
I'll second.
There's a second by Ms. Stroji. And now, Ms. Snively, and then Mr. White.
Thank you. I have serious challenge moving forward with sine die at this juncture, mainly because out of respect for Chair Wood. I understand that our business is mostly complete, but I still think decorum matters. This is his chairmanship, and the courteous and I feel appropriate or correct approach is to move to adjourn the meeting and allow the chair to formally close the meeting. That is the proper decorum for sine die. You might feel like that's traditionalist or maybe less efficient because we don't necessarily have any major required business items to discuss on a future agenda. But it's still his responsibility as the chair to sine die, and that language kind of carries some procedural authority, if you will, not just symbolism. So I would not support sine die at this time because it's really something we should allow the chair to formally do to close our meeting and our efforts for this particular board. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. White, sir?
I agree, Madam Chair.
Dr. Collins?
Substitute motion.
And what is that?
A substitute motion which have to be taken before the original. Am I not right?
Yes, what is
My substitute motion is we adjourn the meeting.
Today's meeting?
Yes.
Second.
And a substitute don't have to be second.
Just adjourn the meeting for the night. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Mary Helen? So the substitute motion is that we adjourn the meeting tonight, and it's been seconded.
Okay, didn't take a vote on the substitute first.
Okay. Roll call vote, ma'am?
Point of clarification,
Yes, ma'am?
we're not signing dying the meeting, we're just adjourning this meeting.
Correct.
If
Mr.
this-
Thank you.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Taylor?
I'm fine to meet in the middle. You know, if we do adjourn, again, I have a deep admiration for Art Wood, known him for a very long time. And I hear Ms. Snively's comments, and I don't disagree with her at all. But at the same time, if we come back January, it may be formality that we're coming back so that we can give the chair the honor to, close us out. But I also want to be clear with like what Ms. Latham led with of just our business is done. We come back in January out of deference and respect and love for our chair, and then let him sine die us out. But I want to be clear, especially from my end. I do believe our work is done with the Charter Review Board. So I'm comfortable adjourning if that's what we need to do, so that we can, again, come January, allow our chair to appropriately sine die our board.
Okay, so on the agenda for the January meeting there will not be the memorandum because you were going to send that in advance. Ms. Cardenas, you can continue to email each of the members. Mr. Roche?
Yeah, I agree with the sentiments of, that were just said, as much as I do, obviously, we all respect Art and would love to have him here, but it would just be a formality, and therefore, I would be voting down on the substitute motion, and I would be for the motion to sine die tonight.
Anyone else? Mr. Shaw?
So I thought in January meeting, we're going to discuss about 9 single-member district, and you're going to vote on it, no?
We voted to not do that.
Okay.
So there would be nothing on the agenda other than
The sign.
to come in, have a roll call, the pledge, the prayer, and then we would move to adjourn, and then there would be a sine die.
But do we know Mr. Chairman is coming back?
I say yes.
We just don't have
I
to
say
vote.
yes because I'm not going to be the chair.
So
I'm going to be in.
So the purpose of the next month's meeting is for a proper closeout by the chairman. If he's not going to be here, what's the purpose of meeting next month?
I think as Ms. Snively has indicated, she believes that it is a courtesy, a procedural way for all of us to thank him for his leadership and things of that sort, and it's something that is usually done by the chair.
Absolutely. I'm supportive of it, but even if he comes online, that'll be good enough.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, it's properly seconded. I see no hands up. Everyone has commented that wanted to comment. Ma'am, roll call.
Carlton?
No.
Collins?
Yes.
Droege?
No.
Jarosh?
No.
Joden? No. Coons?
No.
Latham?
No.
Shaw?
I forgot what was the motion?
This was to adjourn tonight, now.
And come back.
And not do, and then if that motion fails, there's going to be a sine die
And we vote
motion.
on Beth's motion.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Snively?
And I'm sorry, the motion is just to adjourn, not sine die,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yes, I'll vote to adjourn.
Taylor,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Motion failed, 6-6. Members Carlton, Droege, Joden, Droge, Coons, and Latham voted no.
All right. Ms. Latham.
So I'm the bad guy. I'll renew my motion to
Can
sign
you
and die.
restate it, please?
I want to close it down. I want to do, my motion is to sign and die the entire proceeding or the entire DLEO.
Is there a second?
The entire board.
Actually, she has a second. All we had to do was vote on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
she had a
Okay,
second.
it is, that's
Just
right.
vote on
So-
the substitute first, now
All
we'll
right.
vote on her motion.
Yeah.
All right, ma'am, roll call.
Carlton,
Yes.
Collins,
No?
Droege,
Yes?
Jarosh,
Yes.
Joden,
Yes.
Coons,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Snively,
No.
Taylor,
Yes.
White,
No?
Holt.
Yes.
Motion carried, 11-3. Members Collins, Snively, and White voted no.
Okay.
Any further business for the Charter Review Board for 2025?
I'd like to thank everyone. I enjoyed serving with you, since we won't see each other again. Madam Chair, thank you for doing a great job. And I brought my passion to this last meeting because it's important to the citizens to hear the facts. And you all did take that final vote that you didn't want to hear that 7 single member district, so I'm deeply appreciated. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and it's been an honor serving with all of you all.
On behalf of this board, we want to thank our staff that has worked with us diligently, and we know we have been a demanding group that has asked for a lot of information. We appreciate what you have done for us. You facilitated everything tremendously. Every single one of us knows each other now well, and there is nothing to preclude us from calling ourselves to gather again in a social fashion in order to show our appreciation not only to each other, but to the staff, and more importantly, to Mr. Wood. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year to all.